love that, then you're going to want to pick up a copy of Joe Robinson's new Undertones. Award-winning singer, songwriter, producer, straight out of Australia, but now actually you're like a Nashville local now. You've been here 10 years.
I have.
You know, it's so great to have you on the show, Joe. I remember the first time I saw you a few years back at 3rd and Lindsley, and I was just wowed by, you know, your skill, and you were up there, you know, with your Maton guitar and your Gretsch, working 2 guitars at once. You did a TED, with that.
Yeah, it was so cool. You know, I mean, that's my new party trick. I was on stage one night in Cleveland at the Beach One Ballroom, and you know, I have this acoustic electric one-man show, and I was on stage and I'm playing, and I was like, I wonder what happened if I picked up that one and kind of played this one with my left hand and this one with my right hand, and I literally did it on the spot.
It's so amazing because you're like, you're doing some looping, you're playing them both simultaneously, and you know, and when I first saw it, I'm like going, it was like a Spinal Tap moment, you know, like when he's taking the violin and like, you know, and it's like going, but you actually pull it off.
Yeah, and it was a great moment doing it, you know, for TEDx at the TPAC here on the big stage in front of a few thousand people. And
well, and you're so gifted, and you know, with all the awards that you won
Thank you.
In Australia, and you know, it didn't hurt that you know, I saw a video with you and your mom doing a little gig thing too recently. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, my mom's a great musician. She, you know, when I was growing up, she was playing drums in a bunch of bands, and she plays guitar and ukulele. My dad plays a few instruments too, but my mom's, she just lives and breathes music.
Well, the family has to be so proud with what you've accomplished. I mean, you know, you've been out on tour with Emmylou Harris's Hot Band, and also with Rodney Crowell's band, and then you're also doing the Guitar Army with a few popular guitarists. Yeah,
the Guitar Army is a really cool group. You know, I'm so fortunate to play with so many great people. The Guitar Army is John Jorgensen, Leroy Parnell, and myself, and the first version was with Robin Ford as well.
Right.
So it's a blast playing with those guys. And I love living in Nashville. I love getting to collaborate with so many great people here.
Well, and also you get to tour with your buddy and mentor Tommy Emmanuel once in a while.
Yeah, I'm doing a camp with Tommy here really soon, and you know, we have some tour dates in the fall, and some next year as well. And you know, being around him is just like, you know, you can't help but soak up his positivity and his enthusiasm for playing. And I couldn't have picked a better musician to be my mentor. I've learned so much from him.
And I wanted to bring up also, Joe, to where, you know, there's so many publications now, Premier Guitar Magazine raving about you. Washington Post is comparing you to John Mayer. Never a bad thing. And you and I were talking, you know, and I've listened to all your albums, but I think with Undertones, your latest, you know, creation, it's really kind of pushing your boundaries, you know, with your singing, with your songwriting, more electric.
Yeah, you know, I released an album called Time Jumper 10 years ago, which I feel like was my kind of, you know, a statement as an instrumental solo acoustic guitarist.
Right.
And ever since then, I kind of wanted to transition more into writing. And, you know, I was doing solo guitar shows for 2 hours, and I was like, I think I should, like, sing something, tell some stories. So, you know, I embarked on that quest to develop those skills. I really felt like it was important, and this album feels like my debut and the culmination of a lot of years of developing that. And I collaborated with some really great songwriters and great musicians, so it was a blast creating this album. I self-produced it.
And you did it at the Castle,
yes,
which used to be Al Capone's old place here in Nashville.
And I have a song about Mr. Capone and the Castle. It's a pretty cool song. It's on YouTube somewhere. You can find it if you want.
Well, I was going to bring up too. You involved a few heavy hitters on this album, also, Joe. You know, you pulled in some of the cream of the crop of Nashville to be on this album with you.
Yeah, my buddy Pete Abbott played drums, and you know, Pete worked with Average White Band and Blood, Sweat and Tears and a lot of great people, and he's just a great musician. You know, it's kind of a chemistry thing, I think, when you play with, you know, any kind of a musical ensemble.
Right.
And I just knew this was going to be the right treatment for the songs. And Anton Nesbitt played bass, and Anton's a great, great musician. He's played with, you know, the McCrary sisters.
Totally.
And the Winans and a lot of great people. He's just
well, you know, and it's so interesting too. The single that's come off here, you've had "Do You Want It to Be Me." I'm a huge fan of Snake Man. And also Timagog, which is named after the town you were raised in Australia.
Yeah.
But I like Timagog because it's like, it's free flow thought. Mm-hmm. It's just so much fun listening to it. It's like, you know, I couldn't stop listening to that song.
Yeah, it was inspired by a lot of spoken word poetry. And it's kind of a stream of consciousness story about my transition from growing up in Temagod up in the bush. You know, it was
Right.
pretty rustic. You know, I always say we got hot water in 2001. It's a true story. You know, it was this little farmhouse, and it was a great way to grow up. I didn't have anything to do but play the guitar.
I got to ask
So
you
I'm
this:
grateful.
every time you perform that song out, is it different every time, or are you able to nail it each time?
I nail it each time, pretty much. In fact, if I was to change anything, it would throw me off. I think I just have it. You know, I just get up there and look people in the eye and tell them. People really connect with that song live.
I love it.
Temagod.
Yeah.
It's pretty special.
It is, and so many songs on here. You know, I really feel like your songwriting voice, and I'm sure, you know, touring with great songwriters like, you know, Rodney Crowell and Emmylou Harris probably helps, you know, change your view also. And you've really, you know, ingrained yourself here in Nashville. Now, I've heard a rumor about you have a new guitar teaching website that's kicked off.
Yeah, it's an online learning platform called Joe's 12. So joes12.com. And, you know, I've been working on this for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
It's a huge project. You know, it's a 12-week course, and I think it's really going to help so many guitar players out there. I'm mostly a self-taught musician, and I learned from DVDs and VHS tapes. And so
Right.
this is kind of like the modern version of that. And, you know, we go through everything from a practice routine to scales and chords to songwriting and arranging and improvising and recording and collaborating. And,
All within
and
like a
your
12-week
why. Yeah,
learning span.
each week's a different topic. And so you'll hear from me as well as hearing from Steve Vai and Eric Johnson and Robin Ford and Tommy Emmanuel and
How
John
amazing
Jorgensen,
is that?
Rodney Crowell and Gary Nicholson and Joe Glazer. And I mean, I had so many of my, you know, heroes,
Right.
friends and mentors. You know, all people I had a personal connection with, and I felt like I could, you know, really extract from them some knowledge that'll really help a lot of musicians. So,
Totally. I think help all of us.
Yeah.
I got to ask you this. You know, I know your practice regimen. Back when you were growing up in Australia, it's like, you know, how many hours a day you practiced. Did you ever dream that you would be where you are now? And obviously winning all those contests as a teenager and just, you know, doing amazing things, you know, around the world. But did you envision that you would be here today in this capacity?
You know, people sometimes ask me that, and the honest answer is yes, because I always knew I could do it.
Right.
I always believed in myself. You know, where I grew up, Temagod is considered a socially disadvantaged area in Australia, and I always knew that that if I put the work in, and I've always felt like I've had a gift as a, you know, as a guitar player.
Definitely.
And I always dreamed of being the best and working with the best. And you know, you never know how things are going to pan out. But it's been such an adventure. You know, I just moved here when I was 18.
Right.
And Nashville is such a great musical community.
Just a hotbed.
People are just so nice here, and everyone's, you know, trying to build something, and it's an
Right.
encouraging place. So I've just fallen in with so many great people, and I didn't expect it to turn out the way it's turned out, but I always dreamed of you know, living the life I live as a musician.
Yeah, you've already played over 2,000 gigs.
Yeah.
And I think you have 100 shows, what, 100 more shows this year?
Yeah.
And still more room to book, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, now, I got to bring it up. Where's the best place for our viewers to find your website, also to find, you know, where you're touring, playing, everything else, to buy the album?
Everything's on joerobinson.com.
Okay.
You can just Google my name, Joe Robinson. Joe's 12 is at joes12.com. And you can find me on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and
All those great places. And you're going to have a European tour this fall, too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm heading over there. I'm playing some shows in the Czech Republic and Germany and Austria and kind of all over.
So you'll be taking your Maton and Gretsch and AER everywhere you go.
Yep, my one-man guitar show. have guitars, we'll travel.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think this is your breakout album, Joe. I mean, I've enjoyed all
Thank
your
you.
work in the past, but I think that, you know, with your songwriting and how you've honed your skills and you produced this album, I think that listeners, I think your fans are really going to take this on. And you're already getting great write-ups already and radio airplay.
Yeah, the response has been amazing. You know, I went in the studio and I felt compelled to produce it myself. I worked a lot as a session musician, so I have experience in, you know, figuring out arrangements and getting tracks down on tape. And I felt like I wanted to direct this recording myself, and I'm really glad I did because people have connected with it in a really strong way, and it feels like an authentic representation of who I am and where I am.
I think it's almost autobiographical, you know,
Yeah.
to where I feel like you're telling your story through song
Yeah, I feel that way
when I'm
too.
listening to it. So be sure and pick up a copy. Undertones is Joe Robinson. Catch him on tour, because I'm telling you what, check out the videos. You can see him on the TEDx and everything. Go see him live. Pick up your own copy. Undertones, Joe Robinson. Thanks for watching The Rockin' Review.